So what happens when we die? I mean, it's the ultimate question, right? But what if? What if the people who've actually been there, clinically dead, and then brought back, what if they could give us a glimpse? Well, today, we're diving into the book Imagine Heaven, which pulls together thousands of these incredible near-death experiences to see what they might just reveal about the other side.
All right, to really get this, we have to start with the story of George Richie back in 1943. Now, this was a young soldier, all set to go to medical school, who suddenly wakes up to a scene that just makes no sense. He's looking down at his own body, lying totally lifeless in a hospital bed. Can you even imagine?
This experience kicked off what many people who've had a near-death experience, or NDE, describe. It's the first step, an impossible journey, a complete departure from the physical world as we know it. So, follow this timeline. It starts with a crazy high fever, 106 degrees. He passes out during an X-ray, and the next thing he knows, he's floating. He's literally looking down at his own body, and his first thought, oh no, I'm gonna miss my train. So he bolts, flying over the frozen Texas desert, trying to get anyone's attention. He goes to ask for directions, reaches out to touch a man's shoulder, and his hand goes right through him. That's when the real horror starts to sink in.
Yeah, that's the moment it all clicks. After he flies straight through a telephone pole, the impossible truth just crashes down on him. The body in the bed, the fact that no one can see or hear him, it all adds up. He's dead. Okay, so a story like that, it's easy to just write it off, right? But here's the thing. The book Imagine Heaven is packed with cases that have seriously challenged even the most hardcore skeptics in the medical world. And look, the first thing science says is it's just hallucinations of a dying brain. You know, a lack of oxygen causing the brain to fire off randomly. But so many of these accounts have details that just don't fit that explanation. Verifiable details.
And that brings us to Dr. Michael Sabom. He was a cardiologist who thought all these stories were total nonsense. He actually set out to scientifically debunk them, but what he found, well, it completely flipped his worldview upside down.
See, Dr. Sabom's research zeroed in on these verifiable details. You have patients like Pete Morton, who is clinically dead, no brain activity, nothing, and yet he described his own resuscitation with just jaw-dropping accuracy. He remembered the doctor hitting his chest, saying he really whacked me. He even described the pacemaker needle looking like some kind of Aztec Indian ritual. And get this. Another patient, after open heart surgery, correctly noted that one of the surgeons was wearing these specific scuffless, white patent leather shoes. How in the world could you see that from the operating table? You can't.
But that raises an even bigger question. What about the people who have never been able to see at all?
This is where Vicky's story comes in, and it is absolutely incredible. Vicky was blind from birth. She had no concept of what sight even was, no mental images of light or color. And yet, during her NDE, she said she could see, for the first time ever. She described seeing her own body, her long hair, and even the tiny orange blossoms on her wedding ring.
Accounts like Vicky's just stumped researchers. They had to come up with a whole new term for it, mindset. It's this idea of a visual perception that happens completely outside of the physical eyes or the brain's visual cortex. It suggests that consciousness itself might be able to see, even when the body can't. So as researchers started gathering thousands of these stories from all over the globe, something amazing started to happen. They noticed a pattern. No matter the culture, the religion, or the age of the person, the core elements of the journey were startlingly consistent.
And this journey is remarkably universal. First, there's that out-of-body experience, floating above your own body. Then, traveling through a tunnel. At the end of that tunnel, there's this brilliant, warm, loving light. People are often greeted by loved ones who've passed on. And finally, they experience this panoramic replay of their entire life. It happens again and again and again.
And during this whole thing, people say they have a new body. But it's not like being a spooky ghost. They describe it as being whole, healthy, maybe translucent or made of light. And the weirdest part, they say it feels more real, more solid than their physical body ever did.
Now, out of all these common threads, the one that seems to have the biggest impact is the life review. And this isn't just a quick flash before your eyes kind of thing. It's so much more.
George Richie, the soldier from the beginning, he heard a question from this being of light. It was, "What have you done with your life to show me?" But, and this is key, it wasn't a question of judgment. It was about reflection, and it all centered on one single powerful theme.
So what is this life review like? Well, people describe it as a full 3D replay of every single moment of their life. But here's the twist. You don't just see your actions, you re-experience them from the perspective of the people you interacted with. You feel the joy you caused, and you feel the hurt. The whole thing isn't focused on your achievements or failures. It's about how much love you showed. It's like you finally get to see the ripple effect of every single choice you ever made.
Okay, but it's not all light and love. We have to be honest here. The book makes it very clear that not every journey is a blissful one. Some of them are deeply, deeply disturbing. Just listen to this. A patient of Dr. Maurice Rawlings during CPR would scream, "I am in hell. Each time you quit, I go back to hell. Don't let me go back." I mean, that's terrifying. And it forced researchers to acknowledge that there's a whole other side to these experiences.
And the difference between the two experiences couldn't be more extreme. You have the heavenly NDEs, which are all about overwhelming love, brilliant light, and feeling like you've come home. And then you have the hellish ones, which are the exact opposite. Total isolation, a void of darkness, fear, confusion, and this horrible feeling of being trapped.
So, we've looked at these incredible, sometimes terrifying accounts. Where does that leave us? What's the point of all this? Well, the book argues the main takeaway isn't actually about dying.
The author's whole point is this. These experiences, these stories, are meant to be a gift to help us shift our focus, to help us live our lives right now with an eternal perspective in mind. And when you ask the survivors, the people who've been there and come back, what matters most after everything they've seen, it all boils down to just two things.
Those two things are, 1, the quality of our relationships, and 2, learning how to love. That's it. For the survivors, all the stuff we chase, money, status, success, it all just fades away. The only thing left, the only thing that has any weight, is how we treated one another. And that leaves us with the final challenge from the book. The real question isn't whether you believe these stories or not. The real question is this. If what they're saying is true, what is the one thing you would change about your life today?